don't mind tonight. Play per ego.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend, football friend.
Oh, what a superb goal. Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
And welcome back to another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. Sorry if I'm a little bit nasally. I've just finished my recovery, my massage, and I think I'm a bit sick as well. I don't know if my son's giving me chicken pox, but he's got it, and yeah, I'm not feeling the best today. So excuse my voice, but how are you going, Ben? We're a few days late because you were, I don't know what you've been doing, but you've just been ignoring messages, posting videos on Instagram, and not getting the podcast done.
Yeah, the podcast has been on the back burner this week because Jazz is in Melbourne and I've got Shelby here absolutely destroying our house. So I managed to set up a backdrop where you can't see too much of the damage. But if you saw my front door, it's not looking too well. But that's all right. We're
So
here.
hopefully the landlord doesn't listen to this podcast.
He's going to say, yeah, we got an inspection actually next week. How's your world? Obviously, Champions League last week, the debacle that it was, and the actual game, and then obviously you had a league game just last night. You boys bounced back. So how's the week been?
Yeah, well, it was just, I think last time we spoke, we still didn't know obviously about like what was going on with the Champions League. So we found out the day before the game. So we had just over 24 hours, and it's not an excuse, but it's just even that like in itself. But there's been a few more things that have been found out, and there's mistakes on our part, and I just think hopefully the process from now on is clearer for everyone. But as a club, we need to be way better because that was like we would have been playing Bangkok United in a quarter final, but it's also the ranking points here for Vietnam. Like that's now 2 losses against the Singaporean side, so they jump us. So it's like not just losing, but you're losing to a team that actually now is jumping you. Plus, obviously going in, it would have been, I think, the furthest the club had ever got. Well, definitely this club, but I'm not sure if any club in Vietnam in the second ACL 2 or the AFC Cup had ever gotten this far. So, yeah, everybody was gutted, like the coaching staff, the players. It was just, yeah, it's a massive disappointment. But on the game itself, like we didn't actually deserve anything from it. Like I think we just got rattled. Like we had scored 10 goals past them, we had the stats before the game of how many shots we'd had, just all of this stuff that was, all right, we're going to be able to set up. But from the second one, like they're booting balls out, they're going down, wasting time, which you kind of knew was going to happen. The referee, she had a bit of a stinker, and like all her decisions essentially, I guess, were right with VAR, but like, we had an offside goal for them that went against us, so it was called offside, it was a goal. And they don't have VAR in the group stage. So that would have been all right for us. Then we had a player that wasn't even going to get a yellow card. He got looked at for a red card, got a yellow card. We had another player that got given a red card. Then we had a goal chalked off with VAR. And it was just like, yeah, it was never going to happen for us. Once we went down to 10 men, like it was just not possible. But we didn't set up. We didn't set up to be able to score past them. And I think, it's great for them. I just think like the problem is like the best team didn't go through. So for AFC and for the showcase of it, Bangkok United, I believe will go through quite comfortably. I could be wrong with that, and maybe I'll eat my words, but and we're just disappointed. And I think the biggest thing for us was, all right, like it's done now. The president, he came out and spoke to us and just kind of said it's done. Like obviously they'll have discussions around like whose fault it was, because someone needs to be held responsible. Doesn't mean they lose their job or they get fined or whatever it is, but we need to be more professional, and we just need to focus on the league now. And the beauty of it is that now we don't have we would have had a Champions League game this time next week and the week after, and they're sandwiched in between Hanoi FC and Ninh Binh, so 2 top teams. So the silver lining is we don't have that. We can solely focus on the league. And last night we went out and won 3-1. Which looked, we were just speaking off air a little bit about it, but I didn't want to tell you everything. But so before the game, we got there, and what was it? So we match day -1. If you saw my vlog, you would have seen it. We got there. it was, I don't know, 12 o'clock, had lunch, whatever. The assistant coach, who's Vietnamese, goes to the pre-match kind of meeting with the Vietnamese officials. And he comes back, and I was just sitting there having like a coffee and watching something. And he's like, Leo, like, he can't play. Like the guy that got sent off in the AFC game. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, they're suspending him from the V League. And it's the Asian Champions League red card. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you can't do that. But essentially in Vietnam, they can do whatever the fuck they want.
But what? How?
So I don't know. It was too short to like try and challenge it or anything, and I didn't see the piece of paper, but I think they were saying that some rules changed recently. I don't know if it was like in the last 5 days since the game happened, but we're the only team that obviously had a red card, so no one else was getting punished by this. And you know, the UEFA Champions League was saying like happened. And Real Madrid got red cards and they played in the league 2 days later. Like it's just to use as an example, and they were just like, well, no, we want to ban him. So we still don't know how many games he's getting banned for, but you know, that getting thrown at you after the stuff that happened was just like, okay, like things are really against us. So we need to make sure we go out there against a team who has a transfer ban. They've only got 16, I think, registered players, but 4 are injured. So they'd beaten Ho Chi Minh Police, and they drew with Nam Dinh, who are like a really good team. So it was like, it's not going to be easy. And even though they're fighting for everything, they had one player on the bench and they had a reserve goalkeeper on the bench. And we were like, well, he may come on for them. So we went 1-0 down. Stinker, our striker's gone to pass the ball back to like the number 6. Our centre backs are so split, and the 6 is like done a Stevie G, just slipped over. The pass wasn't to him. They've run through, dinked the keeper. It's like hit the crossbar, down into the ground, hit the crossbar again, and gone in. And it was just like, oh God. No, like this is exactly what I was trying to say before the game. Like, we can make it as hard as we want or as easy as we want. Like, don't give them the energy. The crowd's obviously up for it. They're not getting paid, these players. They've been months without pay. We just need to like kill them early, and they'll lose that. And we just gave them everything they needed to kind of scrap for everything. Their fans were throwing extra balls on the field. Their coaches were kicking the balls back on the field. It was just like, at halftime, like I was so close to just losing my head. But I'm like, what's the point? These guys don't even understand English that well. So what is me getting angry going to do anything? So I was just like, you know what, just fucking focus. We came out and yeah, we ended up winning. We scored. We got a penalty. Then our centre back Van Gaal scored from like halfway, like ridiculous goal, like a Beckham type of finish, but left foot. And then we got the third at the end. So it was it was crazy. But we got the job done. And then we had another player sent off right at the end of the game for like a proper tactical foul. They were breaking away, and he's just ankle tapped him, and like they've run up to him because it was like one of those ones, you know, as a player you're kind of pissed off and you're thinking we're on the break, and he's just kicked him. The ref gives him a straight red, and it was never a red, and we're like, fucking hell, like what's going on here? Like, I think if we got a red card as a foreigner, you can't actually play the foreigners in the next game like that. Instead of playing 3, it's only 2, something ridiculous like that. And we were like, just check VAR. Like, he was clearly not, and this referee, you know, in my opinion, was, you know, not really giving us much. They overturned it to a yellow card, but I'm like, imagine there's no VAR. Like, this is just like, so I get why there needs to be VAR, but some of the things you're seeing here, like, I know Australia can be a bit of a disaster sometimes, but here, some of these decisions and things that are going on, you're just like, you pull your hair out and you don't know who's deciding a lot of stuff. But we got the job done. We moved.
It's outrageous.
5 points clear from Ninh Binh with a game in hand. I think 7 from Viettel with a game in hand, 10 or 11 from Hanoi with a game in hand. So we're in a very good position, but we need to make sure we get the job done. And I got my 3rd yellow in the last game, so I missed this next game. So then I'm fresh for the other 2, but it wasn't done on purpose.
Well, hopefully you boys don't bottle it like another team that's currently sitting top in another league.
No one's bottled anything. What, are you talking about the team from North London that just smacked 4 past Tottenham?
I'm talking about the team that's looked a little bit shaky in recent weeks. That's all I'll say. What happened with the keeper, by the way?
Oh, yes.
From the other team?
The keeper
Did he
came
get
on at like he came on, and
At centre mid?
he was on a break. I think he was left wing. He was on a break, and he's tripped on the ball and just stacked it. And I was like, "Fuck!" Like it's pretty harsh on him, like to put him on. But
Did he have the gloves on?
he didn't have the gloves on, and it's just like it's just crazy the stuff you see. Like you know, it happens all over the world. Obviously, with this type of stuff, like you've got a transfer ban, you've got 5 players injured. So like I was understanding why they were wasting time and doing everything to win, but it was obviously annoying you. But you can understand, like they probably have a big bonus if they win from a sponsor, or you know they're just trying to showcase themselves maybe to get a move somewhere else. So yeah, crazy game. That keeper's probably not going to be getting another run. And our keeper, actually from our team, the Czech Vietnamese goalkeeper, he reckons he can play outfield, and that there just summed it up. He reckons he can play outfield for a game in the V League. I said, no chance. And
that's the
that there
problem
is
with
the
keepers. That's the problem with them. They're not all there. These
No.
keepers.
No,
Oh,
they're not. So anyway, that was me. I've got a few days off now, so I can enjoy and get ready for Hanoi FC. And then that's the other thing here. It's 3 yellow cards, and you miss a game here, and it doesn't reset throughout the whole season.
3 yellows.
Yeah, it's impossible not to get 3 yellows.
You'd get that in 3 games in the A-League.
Yeah, I know, but I've been smart here, you know, toe the line a little bit. But yesterday, yeah, maybe it was just unfortunate that I got one for time wasting right at the end.
Yeah. And it's also crazy because you said that you'd already planned the golf trip next weekend.
Yeah, that was a weird coincidence. So the extended golf trip now, flights were booked for before the game against Ally, which was weird. Flexi flights just in case, but here we go. So anyway, back to some local stuff, and for you guys. So when we last spoke, you hadn't played Auckland yet, had you?
No.
So you've got
that
two
game
games
was
as well.
Yeah, that game was frustrating. It feels like a long time ago now because we had 3 games last week. But that game was actually a really good game at Leichhardt. The pitch was really good, which was nice. And we actually dominated the game. We played really, really well. I think it was the best that we played in a while. But unfortunately, we just had the mishap at the end, the own goal, which is one of those where it's like, you know, everyone feels bad after the game. You're like, oh, fucking hell, we conceded such a bad goal. But I think realistically, like the chance that we had in the game, we could have been 2 or 3 up. And if you are 2 or 3 up, then you win that game. The accident happens at the end and everyone laughs about it and says, oh, well, it is what it is. But unfortunately, we drew the game, which was...
Yeah. What was your view of it? Were you like directly behind them when it happened?
Yeah,
Right
I
in the
was
middle of
like,
the
I
goal,
was
I'm
right
assuming.
there. It was one of those that it's like Geordie's obviously just come on. He's just trying to throw his body at something. Like the ball's kind of gone past and you're running back to your own goal. So you're like, oh, I'll just hook this away. And unfortunately, just Alex Grant's like just coming back in the exact same line. The thing is, like sometimes you'll see them and it just maybe nicks him or whatever and goes the other way, or it comes, you know, off the crossbar or something, and you get away with it. But it went straight in. Yeah, it was frustrating because I felt in that game that Auckland, not that they weren't up for it, but it just felt a different feeling compared to the game when we played them over there. And it just felt like they were there for taking, and then you know we couldn't get all 3 points, but we
It did seem like that, but yeah, you didn't. And then there was the words afterwards. You might not want to even speak or go into too much depth about it, but obviously it was on social media with Toure. Did anything actually get said behind closed doors, like about that you can share, or it's best to just
I think
keep that one?
No. I think after the game it was just, you know, obviously it's frustrating. Like everyone's tempers are up when you're out there, and I think the boss is no different. Like he's there, he's with it through us. You know, he's going through everything the same as we are. He's on the sideline. We're there. Obviously, he had a chat with Al on the pitch. And then I don't think anything was said after the game in the change room. And then I think they just had a chat the next day and sorted it out and on to the next game. So it's one of those, like, you know, obviously the cameras will pan to it and it's a talking point for everyone. But realistically, like, things like that happen all the time in football, the same at training when there's, you know, players nearly getting in a punch on at training. Like that stuff does happen. It's part of it. You know, you're out there, you're trying to do your best, and sometimes you maybe step over the line, like you on the weekend, getting that yellow card. But there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
So
Nah, I think it's like it looked bad because I was watching the game, and then obviously straight away it was clipped up, and now with like the cameras and social media, like that type of clip is exactly like people just want clicks. They want something that's interesting, and for like the average day punter, like that is like, oh shit, the coach is going at him or saying something. And yeah, if you had your time again, maybe it's best to just do that behind closed doors straight away. But it's an emotional game, and it's very difficult sometimes to control that. And even watching it, like I know Al obviously he's a top guy, he's a good player. But I was even thinking, like it's easy when you're not out there, right? When you're not out there,
Yeah.
you're thinking, fucking, what are you doing shooting from there? Just like literally, I was like, just keep the ball, or like he could have I think crossed it around to the far left corner. Someone else was running there just to kind of waste time. We do get kind of told that, and some teams work on it more than others. But it's like kill the game off. Waste that time. If you go down with cramps, you go. You don't want to give goal kicks, because if you give a goal kick, then they get a reset. Can it go out for a throw in? Because you can push everyone. All these small little things that, like that could have happened 100 times, and 100 times the own goal never happened. So you don't even really look into that, but it did, and it's just one of those ones that you've got to learn
and
from.
the thing is, for me, like you can never ever blame one player. You can never, like, people make mistakes all the time out there, and individuals make mistakes, but realistically, like, did that contribute to the own goal happening directly? Like, so many other things happened after that before we conceded the goal. Like, it is what it is. It's just,
but as a player,
team
how
sport.
bad is it when you make the mistake? Like, you give the ball
100%.
away, or you give a free kick away, and they score from that, and you're thinking, fucking hell, like, that's just my, like, but like, maybe a player gave away the ball in a worse position or a worse free kick, they don't score from it, and it's like, oh, well, it's all right for him. It's just the way it is. Like, it's, again, I have to always bring him up, but like, Arsenal, that David Raya mistake with Gabriel, like, they literally had, like, that will never ever happen again, essentially, with a goal, but it did happen. So it's one of those ones that, like, now you need to actually, you need to learn from it. Like, I think that's the biggest thing with, like, the best teams. They learn from any mistake, and they limit those kind of things. So you guys went out, and then you won on the weekend. So I guess you learned, right?
Yeah, well, that was good. That was a must-win game, especially at home, and we got the job done, which was good. Brisbane, I don't know, like the way they set up, just I couldn't see them really creating anything or scoring. Like, once we went 1-0 up, I was like, if they don't change something and the game keeps going the way it is, unless it's an absolute disaster or a set piece, I just couldn't see us conceding or losing that game. So yeah, it was good. It was good. We got a big couple of games coming up now. Obviously, we got Wellington off the back of their absolute debacle. I suppose we can go into them and talk about the Kiwi Classico, because that was absolutely crazy, and they've lost again. And Chiefy's gone into the presser after the game and said, "I've had enough. I'm done."
What do you think?
Do you think he's like actually had enough, or do you think he got like sacked and then just said it straight away in the presser afterwards?
No, I think he's the type of guy. The way he spoke about it, can't remember if it was at Sampdoria or whatever team he said in Italy that he supports. If that happened in the derby there, like, he would expect the coach to be gone. I think he's the type of person that just, thinks it's not right that loss has happened, and he's obviously, near the bottom. He probably felt like, the players weren't not listening to him, because I think that's wrong, but weren't 100% bought in for whatever reason. And I think it's actually a really honourable thing to do. You can look at it both sides, right? You could say, well, you're throwing the towel in because, why would you ever leave? But at the same time, I kind of look at it and I'm like, well, if you think you're not going to get anything more out of this, what's the point in staying and ruining your reputation even more and making the club to be in a worse position? So he's now given them, because the league's so tight, like, a new coach comes in, you get that, new coach bounce like Perth did earlier in the season, and maybe something can happen. So I think it's, again, we talk about moments, and, as coaches, you need to control certain things, but as a coach, can you really do much about that first goal? Which sets the tone of, like, it's just like, fuck that like, what do you even say to that? Like,
You can't say much. What I actually loved is that like Gerd Reich like actually ran off a bit and kind of like celebrated, and
Celebrators.
then the boys like
I
came
think
around him.
they were
It's
trying to like
like,
give the goal to him, but it's
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those ones that yeah, something needs to change at Wellington. They've obviously not been quite up there, and you can say about budgets, and they maybe haven't backed him. But you know what? There's a lot of clubs that aren't getting the backing either, and it's his first head coaching role. I'm sure he'll get another job, whether it's as a head coach, whether it's as an assistant. I think he's just kind of starting out like, it's like us as a young player. You get that first contract, or you start playing at one team. Just because you play a few times doesn't mean you're going to stay there forever. You might need to go backwards to go forwards, and hopefully he picks up something, because he seems like he's someone that's good for the game, and maybe we need to speak to some players that have worked under him to get the vibe and engage of him. But yeah, it's just crazy how Auckland have come in and just absolutely wiped Wellington off the face of football in New Zealand, and they are so irrelevant. Like, we're not even in New Zealand, but it's just the truth, right? Like,
yeah,
they're giving not much to the competition.
yeah, and obviously, like what we spoke about with the Sydney Derby and like Western Sydney and all the talk before it, like obviously. Auckland came out. I think it was the goalkeeper vowed and Lockie Brook. They did that video saying like, yeah, we're just a bigger club. They're just kind of irrelevant, and we've beaten them every single time and whatever. And then they come out and do that. Like, fair play. If you're going to talk and then you come out and back it up, it's like fair play. You can't say much about that.
Yeah, I guess there's you got to have big cojones to come out and do that, right? Like, after what we've seen, and we've talked about it on here, and even I think in the press conference with Cheapy, he said how much he dislikes him. Like, on the way out, like, to just have another pop at him, which is actually good in terms of that rivalry. The problem is, it's just like I was saying, it's one-sided. It's all Auckland. They're winning every single one. They're up there competing for the championship. They got in the OFC Pro League, and Wellington are just dwindling near the bottom, and yeah, it's good. It's good for the rivalry, but I think Wellington need to sort something out, because yeah, they need to at least be fighting, especially in those games. Like, they haven't. I don't think they've won once, have they, against them?
No, 6-0 now. It's
Like,
crazy. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's not
actually
a good
crazy.
statistic. So,
It's not a good
and
rivalry
the
either.
crowd was no, the crowd was disappointing, just over 10,000. Because
Yeah, it
if
was
you're a
terrible.
Wellington fan, you're probably thinking this isn't hyped up that much. Like, the first one was close to 30 odd. I thought it was like almost a sellout, or it was a sellout, and then the Auckland one still is booming when it's on. But if you're a Wellington fan, I guess it's like it's not. Yeah, they haven't captured the fans there. So anyway, that's enough. But you go there, you need a win. I think it's always dangerous when you go to a team that's just sacked the coach. So hopefully you guys are switched on, can handle the trip across the ditch, and actually, yeah, get the 3 points, because yeah, it's so tight at the top. You don't want to be dropping points to those teams, do you?
No, well, especially when Newcastle just keep winning, like 8 in a row now, and like
Yeah.
if you're speaking about Wellington and everything that's happening there, if you go across, like that's another team for me that doesn't have a big budget and they're absolutely thriving at the moment. And it's always the way, unfortunately, in Australia that bandwagoners jump on, but they're pulling in massive crowds at the moment.
Mm.
Like, they're standout in every way at the moment. Like, off the field, on the field, they're playing amazing football. They're getting the following. Like, those players, they must be flying right now.
Yeah, and I don't know why it came into my head. I can't remember if I was watching your game or whatever it was, but I was thinking about like Brisbane, right, for example, and how their approach has been, they've been a losing team for a long time. They want to change that. They want to be about fighting, and Valkanis has come out and said, you need to start somewhere, and this is the foundation. But then I was thinking, well, Millsy's gone into Newcastle, who you would say are just as unsuccessful, probably even worse in their last, whatever it's been, 10 or so years. And he's turned them around and got them playing really, really good football. And on paper at the start of the season, you might have said Brisbane had a better squad. So I guess it's that, you know, like, look at a coach and how much of a difference they make, and the style of football, and getting the best out of your players, and probably playing a style that like players are excited really excited to come in every single day. And that's not saying there has to be one way on not to play, but yeah, it's just so interesting how, yeah, like Newcastle have just turned around. And even that game on the weekend, I only saw bits and pieces, but that was a bit of a grind, and Millsy's come out and kind of hammered the stadium for not watering the pitch, like small things like that, which I can't understand. Like, how is watering the pitch at halftime gonna like ruin the grass for the rugby league coming up? If that's exactly what it was, I just don't understand. Don't understand that one. But yeah, they got the job done. They won. If you're a fan that was at that game, you're probably going to go to the next one. It's the F3 derbies in the Central Coast. So whether they'll make the trip down there or not, I'm not sure. But then they play Western Sydney next up after that. So that Western Sydney one, because they normally get a few people to go to that one, that could be close to 16, 17,000. They're going for records of winless of winning, sorry, in a row. They're doing everything right, aren't they?
Yeah, and the Mariners as well. Now 3 on the balance, and that's another game that we can touch on quickly. Big donks, James Donachie with the winner at the end, and the celebration with the finger up, running the length of the field.
Yeah,
it's an absolute classic.
Mark,
but
high speed meters are through the roof on that.
Yeah. Well, that guy there has to watch out for his calves if he's going to be running that far. But that'll be a really good game. I'm actually really looking forward to that one. That's always a big fixture anyway, the F3 derby. But I think both teams are actually doing quite well. And we speak about how tight the league is. Like Central Coast have now jumped up a few spots again, and they're looking kind of not bad. And it's like the Wanderers again with another loss. They were close to Central Coast a couple of weeks ago, and now they've lost probably a couple of games that they shouldn't have actually lost, and they're just like they're just really struggling.
It's again, we spoke about that the new manager, the bit of a bounce, change of things up, but there's something obviously that's just not working, and for such a big club, it's not good for the league, because you want, and again, not everyone can win it, but you want them to be competitive. Like, you look at that and you think, okay, they've lost 9 games out of 18, so that's 50%. They've drawn 5. They've only won 4 games in their last 5. They've only won 1, and then you look at the Central Coast, who don't even have an owner right now. Their budget's so much smaller. Facilities are a lot worse, and they're 5 without a loss, 3 wins in a row. It's just crazy football. But that game there obviously could have went either way probably as well. But you find a way to win, and that's the most important thing. And it probably gives, you'd say, Central Coast a chance to push for that 6th spot, because they're only 3 points behind MacArthur. They've got a game in hand. City are dropping points. Brisbane are dropping points. I don't think Perth are going to make a push. I don't think Wellington are. So really, I'd say that last final spot is down to the Bulls, Central Coast, and City. So let's see over the next couple of weeks who really wants it.
Yeah. What about your boys, the Reds? Do you have high hopes?
Yeah.
You messaged me after the game saying you think Ayrton's a top coach.
Yeah,
they're performing well.
I think when you watch that game, from start to finish, it was like they just destroyed Perth, 4-0. I know Perth had a couple of chances and whatever else, but tactically watching that game, Adelaide just destroyed them. Perth couldn't put any pressure on them. When they tried to close the middle, they went out wide. When they closed kind of wide and tried to push up, they went over the top. They just completely outclassed. And again, I don't think the players are that much better. But I think Ayrton's very, very smart tactically in the way he wants his team to play, and then the players are bought into it, and now you're kind of getting the rewards for a Johnny Yule, for example, who's I still think he can be so much better. He's good right now in the league, one of the best players, I would say, but he can be better. He's got so much ability. Yaya Tukali's on fire. Alagic, Ryan White's another one. Kikiana's at the back. It's just, there's a lot of talented young players, and I don't know if they'll be able to get top spot. I think they're too far behind. But once it comes into the finals, if you can get 2nd spot, that makes a big difference, and the Adelaide crowd will get behind them for their home leg. So let's see. But I'm really looking forward to the original rivalry this week. You look at Melbourne Victory, and the derby, it was the best derby in a long time that I can remember. Like the crowd looked really good, the intensity of the game, the quality of the game was good. Juan Mata's masterclass. It was quality, and I think going into this game, the Adelaide game, on the back of what happened with the last victory, Adelaide game with the disallowed goal and everything, I think there's going to be a few Victorians that are going to want to come out and support victory to say how shit South Australia is, like they always do.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a massive game. Like victory, Juan Mata, like he's absolutely on flames, and I can't help every single time that he's doing something, I can't help but think what the boys at Western Sydney must be thinking. Like, if you had him there, and like I understand, like the coach or whatever just didn't rate him, and it is what it is. That's his decision at the end of the day. But surely, as players, you're thinking like, fucking hell, like we could have this guy. We're bottom of the league, and instead he's at another team and he's absolutely flying. He probably is, I would say, favourite for the Johnny Warren right now.
Yeah, and I think probably a little bit, like, not in a bad way, but when you've got a reputation, like the commentators, they notice everything he does compared to, let's say, a player, I don't know, like a Lockie Bayliss, not saying he's not a good player, but like, he's a young player coming up and coming. If he does the same thing a Juan Mata does, like, of course the plaudits will go to Juan Mata because you just notice everything he does. So you've got that element of it as well. But you look at his stats now, he's got, 9 assists, top of the league. He's pitched in with a few goals, like the quality of these goals in this game, were the difference. And he works like a machine. Like he runs. He doesn't get stuck in. Like it's not obviously his biggest strength, tackle, but he runs. It's not like he doesn't run. Which some foreigners, when they come here, they don't really work hard, and that's why they don't play. Where Juan Mata, like you actually see, I don't know what his numbers are, but he is working hard, and it does make you think, like, how did they not change the system to suit him? Because last season, I actually get it. They were winning, they were doing well. The players they had in those positions, it was working. But this, like, when you lost Milo, you lost Sapsford, surely then you're thinking, you know what? Let's change this up a little bit and get Juan Mata into this team. And I'm sure he probably would have stayed at Western Sydney if you locked him down early enough. But Western Sydney's loss is victory's gain. And I think it's an interesting one for the league because you saw, what was it? David De Gea, posting about it. A few other Manchester United players, Manchester United themselves posting about it. Like, that's the traction. Again, it doesn't like completely result into actual money, but do you think, and I know the league's tried to do it before, but do you think this is something that the league needs to get better at, into tapping into a Juan Mata's network to see and get the gauge of players that want to come down here and play for, not big money because they've made their cash and they're happy to just have the lifestyle? Do you think that's something the league should be doing? Or you think, you know what, that's not the path for the league to go down and the youth is more of the way to go?
The youth's going to be the way to go because of the state of the league and the financial situation. But for the teams that do have a bit of a budget, yeah, I think 100%. It's not going to harm your team, especially if you're getting the right personality. And I think that, for me, is the biggest thing, along with getting someone that's actually a big name, because how many marquees has the league had? And, maybe as a footballer, you can respect their CV because they've played at, fairly big clubs, but there's probably not that many that you look at and you go like, wow, like this is like a household name. Like if you know football, you know this guy. And maybe if you don't know football, you know this guy because he's played for Chelsea and he's played for Manchester United. You look, there's probably Nani, Douglas Costa was definitely one. And then obviously all those years back, but like even someone like Shinji Ono, like no one knew Shinji Ono, but I feel like those ones there are the unicorns where you get like a really good person who's going to buy into it. But if you can get both, like why would you not do it? For me, it makes no sense. Like it's unbelievable exposure for the league to be, Bruno Fernandes is just putting it on his story like it's just another day. Like that's huge.
Like I think I agree. Youth is the way to go in terms of like how you can make big money, obviously with player sales. But if you get the likes of Juan Mata in And let's say, in 8 years' time, a Bruno Fernandes, I don't know how old he is, but he's probably close to 30. You
Like
get them
Thomas
in, let's
Muller,
say,
when the rumors about Thomas
yeah,
Muller were going around, like
yeah,
that's
Thomas
that's
Muller.
that's
Like,
huge.
of course, financially, we can't compete. So you've got to go for the players that literally want the Australian lifestyle, which I think the Australian lifestyle is better than what it would be in the MLS. It's better what it would be in the Middle East. It's better than what it would be in, most of Asia, because we can't compete financially. It's just the reality of it. So you need to get the right player that's happy to come for a whole lot less cash. Maybe you incentivize them with, potential to buy a club or a potential to own a percentage of the club, whatever it may be. Or you just find the right players that are like, you know what, if I get an extra 5 million, it's not going to change my life. But if I can walk down, imagine Juan Mata, he could walk from Punt Road to the stadium and no one would really bother him. A few people will go up to him and ask for photos, of course, but it's not like in Europe where you'll get mobbed. Even here in Vietnam, like our big players, like, man, are getting manhandled as we're leaving the stadium. Like, these fans are crazy. In Europe, it's like that. Here in Australia, like, we don't have that real craze for players. So, like, I feel like living a normal life for these players is so special because they've never been able to do it. That might be the thing that actually wants them, or gets them to buy in. And like you said, if you get the right ones, they can help develop the young players, and they can probably then say to their agent, listen, fuck, this young kid coming through, for example, a Juan Mata, I don't know who's a young boy at Victory right now, but, imagine Valadon, for example, and he's like, you know what, this Valadon, top player, like, get him a move. The agent's going to listen, and clubs are going to listen to Juan Mata because he's seeing firsthand the level. So that in itself is gold, and the players, what they can learn from him. So I think it's something that needs to be tapped into. Obviously, it's not like you're selling the kitchen sink to just go after these guys, but it's when the odd one pops up, it's okay. Like, let's have a chat. Let's put the feelers out there and really see who are the type of people that would want to come and live in Australia. So, Dries Mertens was obviously with Juan Mata. He's retired, but you're telling me that guy, if he did a full preseason in Australia, he couldn't play next year? Of course he could.
Yeah, and even
Like,
him,
whether
like,
he wants to or not.
Yeah, massive name, nowhere near as big as Juan Mata though. I feel
No,
just for the clubs
of course
that he
not.
played for. Like, if you're a footballing person, I think it's like massive player. But like for me, like a Thomas Muller would be that would have been an unbelievable one if we could have got him somehow to Australia, because I feel like he would be a similar one to Juan Mata in the way that he looks as a person. Like, he doesn't look like he's got an ego. He doesn't look arrogant. He looks like someone that would come here, probably embrace the culture and help the young players. Like, that's what you want. You want
Yeah.
the stardom, but then you also want them to come here and actually leave their mark on the game in a positive way, not just come here for an absolute holiday.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right. But that's enough. We're obviously not the ones making those decisions. Let's see what happens. But a few other big things coming up. Obviously, the Asian Cup on home soil. The Matildas, they kick off Sunday night in Perth against the Philippines. I'm obviously not in Australia right now, so I've got no idea what it's like with the buzz and everything. But like, do you kind of have a feel about this? Obviously, when we had the World Cup, it was crazy. Is this anywhere near that level, or it's pretty quiet right now?
Honestly, I think it's been like radio silence, to be honest. Like, I've
Yeah.
not seen a billboard. I might be wrong. I hope people can reply to this and post it and see where there's been, but I have not seen like any ads. I've not seen any billboards, like, and I live around the corner from Allianz. I live around the corner, like, that's just a sporting precinct. You would expect to see some things around, but yeah, I've not seen a lot. So I'm sure as the tournament kind of starts, I know that they'll be getting massive crowds, and hopefully they go all the way. So as it continues to go, I'm sure that people will jump on it and there'll be a big following. But yeah, at the moment, I'm actually kind of surprised. I've not seen a lot about it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, it's only in a few states, but it is a bit strange because you would have said, they were the biggest national team, or after the World Cup they were. So this is, an opportunity to really capitalize on this, and for women's sport in general. This is, it's massive. And I know their last game in the group against South Korea is at Stadium Australia, so it's in Sydney. I think they play Perth and then Robina in Gold Coast. So it's getting spread around, but yeah, you want to you want to capitalize on this and create that hype for the Matildas for football. We just had the participation numbers come out, and it's almost like we almost like, not that you don't care, but it's like you just expect it. Of course, like it's going to grow year on year, and we're going to be the biggest by a long way. Even though the NRL tried to say they were with like 600, 700,000 less. But it's like, all right, getting these people into, and again, I'm not saying they have to support the A-League, but getting them, to be proper football fans in the country, so they are supporting the Matildas, because this is massive. So it'll be interesting with the TV ratings, and everything like that. I'm sure, as you said, as the tournament goes on, the hype will come. Hopefully, if they're playing well, doing well, you have the big dogs like Sam Kerr and Caitlin Ford, Steph Catley playing well. Then it makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I hope they win it, to be honest.
Yeah.
They should win it.
Yeah.
They should win it.
They should. It'll be interesting. Like,
So
Japan
we'll
will be strong. South Korea will be strong. Let's see. But yeah, we're probably like hanging on to this last, this is probably the last big tournament, I guess you could say. When is the next Women's World Cup actually? What is it, 2020? Is it 7? I'm not even sure now. But
yeah.
For these girls, they're getting a bit older. The golden generation, we've already kind of lost a few. So these are the tournaments that, like, I'm sure they're really itching to win because of everything. So yeah, it's Brazil 2027. So not a bad one if that's your last World Cup, is it? Going to Brazil.
No, that would be unbelievable.
So
unreal.
Yeah, let's see. And just lastly, before we go, have you seen the stuff that Football 360 are doing with this, equivalent of Welcome to Wrexham?
Yeah, I have. Berwick City.
Well, they've chosen them, but I don't know if the coach is actually allowing it to happen or whether he's just putting on an absolute facade and just fucking taking the piss out of it. But yeah, it's he's obviously only worried about them signing a striker for him or giving him some money or helping him win games, which makes sense as the coach. But I think it's cool. Like, I think it's a very interesting thing. And like now with social media, like YouTube, I've started to watch YouTube. I've never really watched YouTube before, but the last like month or so, I've started to watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. Like, I think it was the Sutherland Sharks. They've got their documentary that came out. Football 360 are putting a lot of stuff. Like, this stuff here can actually get traction, where before, like, this never would have got traction. But now, because of everything's at the click of a finger, like, they can do that. Yeah, it's costing money, what they're doing, but they can actually do this properly. They can create the hype, and they can actually make it be like, what? There is the appetite for this. And imagine, let's say in 4, 5, 6, 10 years time, they actually do make it all the way to the top. They'll be the ones that are hailed as kind of the crusaders to really push it and make it open up. And, Matt Winley is a big advocate for it. They've spoken about, their plan for the A1, the A2, and how that can happen, and then eventually into promotion relegation. So I'll be tuning in to watch it, and I'm sure there's a lot of interested people out there that will want to see, and maybe they need to get a GoFundMe page going to recruit a striker. You know any good ones that will go down there to play? Maybe we'll get Mark Marino, see if he wants to go and do it.
I think, like, people love a story though, don't they? Like, people love a story like this, the whole Wrexham thing, and obviously that's on a completely different scale with the financials that they've got and what they're able to produce. But like, people will get around the story and an underdog story as well. And I feel like if they did manage to one day break through, I think they'll be starting from a lot stronger position than a franchise club. Like the APL, let's say, going, we're going to put this new franchise club because they've bid the most amount of money. And it's like, all right, well, but you're coming in with absolutely nothing. Whereas if this does gain some traction and they somehow do get there, they're probably going to be going in, and everyone's going to know who Berwick City is. Whereas right now, I don't think anyone knows who Berwick City is. I just know that they're in Melbourne.
Yeah, if you're not from Victoria, you probably don't even know where it is. So I agree. I think you look at Wrexham. Like, Wrexham literally came to play friendly games in Australia last year. Like, a team from Wales crazy. That is so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things actually brought a game here. So they had promoters that wanted to pay for it, and they had whatever it was, 20,000, 30,000 that rocked up to the game. And then they went to Wellington. I don't know if they'll do it again because I don't know if it really got the traction they were hoping for. But still, like, to be able to do that shows how big of a pool they've got. They're doing all right in the Championship this year. I'm sure they'll get to the Premier League, and that story now, is always going to be there. You had Snoop Dogg overnight. Did you see that? Swansea. He's obviously a part owner, and he was at the game. The crowd was going crazy. I think it was sold out. And Big Snoop was just like, there's shit like that. Like, I think athletes will look at this, that have money or celebrities or just people in general that already have a following and be like, you know what? I can create a brand, right? I can sell shirts. I can make my own clothing brand. I can make my own coffee. I can make my own whatever these days. If you've got a brand, you can sell anything. So what's the difference between owning a sporting team? You're essentially, the brand's already there, but you can attach yourself to it. And that's what's going to make people, like, imagine Taylor Swift, for example, not saying she will, but imagine if she came down and said, you know what? I want to buy the A-League women's. Like, I'm gonna pump heaps of money into this because I love football, I love Australia. Imagine how many, like, Swifties, whatever they're called, would be going to watch the games because she's potentially going to be at a game or however they do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, she could make a killing from stuff like that. I wish we had our own brand that was that big and then we could be making a bit of cash, but it's not to be for us.
No, it's not, unfortunately. Yeah. Oh, we'll see. It's the start, the very, very start of this journey, and we'll see what it eventuates to at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, let's see. Let's see how it goes. I think it's, it was interesting as well. I know I'm kind of going back, but that Football 360, Matt Winley had the one where he actually spoke to the South Melbourne president about, like, the failed bids as well, which was really interesting to hear, and how they were, obviously your team Western United won out on that, but it's just really interesting to hear that stuff. And I think, again, you can't just bring in so many teams, but I feel like if there's an appetite, like if they opened it up and said, like, there's an expression of interest, who wants to come into the A-League right now, however they work out the license fees. I think when it was like back then, if there's 6 clubs that want to come in, they should have given all 6 clubs, if they were financially viable and everything, a pathway to do it. That was the biggest mistake. Because imagine, you did have Western United, and let's say it didn't work the same way it hasn't. But let's say a year later you had South Melbourne coming in, and a year later you had Team 11 coming in, and then you had, Wollongong or Southern Expansion, whatever it was in New South Wales, and you had Gold Coast, and you had Tasmania. Like, if you had that, it doesn't matter if one team actually falls off. Yes, it's not great, but you're kind of then just weeding out the weak ones that can't do it, and it raises the bar. So, interesting times. I don't know what's going on with the league. I don't know what's going on next year with the CBA. I don't know if Adelaide want me back or what I'm doing. I don't know what you're doing. Maybe we're just going to be on this golf trip that's being planned for the end of the year. Maybe it's going to be a full year.
Yeah, potentially. And if Arsenal don't start losing some games, I'm going to be paying for this whole golf trip. So I'm watching every game. The dilemma that I've got at the moment is I've got these Arsenal defenders in my fantasy Premier League team, but then at the same time, I'm wanting them to lose and concede goals. So either way,
a 0-0 draw is perfect for you.
Yeah, but on the weekend, like they win the game, but then they concede a goal, and it's like, this is not what I want from Gabriel and from Raya. So
true. Well,
we'll see. We'll see what
I think they need to get back to their defensive best. They've scored too many goals on the weekend. It's not good enough to score that many. I don't think that was one from a set piece as well. So we need to change that. We need to get back to 0 goals conceded, 1 shot conceded on target, and scoring directly from a corner straight in.
Perfect. But as long as it's Declan Rice, because he's in my team as well.
Yeah. Even I know we could talk all day, but how about Boda Glimt, by the way, in the Champions League?
Yeah, beating Inter.
What a story. I didn't know the geezer. I didn't know the guy from Brisbane Roar actually played there because his article came out on Football 360. So, like, wouldn't be a bad guest to get on to chat about, more in depth about the club and how they don't speak about winning. They just speak about the process. If they win the game, if they've played poorly, people are upset. I think it's so fascinating because they've actually had the success now. Like, if they did that and they weren't successful, it's like, well, fuck, a bit of a wank, whatever. But, like, look at actually what they're doing. Like, I know, Serie A's not top tier right now, but fuck, like, they just spanked them. Like, the budgets are not even close.
But Inter are like, they're up there. I think they're top or second at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, you can say, Serie A is not up there at the moment, but like, this is Inter Milan you're talking about. It's not like a small team. So, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I think, again, like their formula, how they went from second division to where they are to winning to Champions League. Like, imagine financially what this is doing for that club. This is probably where like these leagues need to be better with, like, maybe distributing the money a bit better, because you don't want like Bodo Glimt to be getting too far away from everyone else. Same, let's say, in the Asian Champions League with Melbourne City. I think they've got $1.4 million prize money. Imagine if they somehow made a Club World Cup and they got 25 million or whatever it is. Like, fuck, like that is, you can't.
What is that going to do for Melbourne City? The guy's already got unlimited amounts of money.
Yeah,
it's just how much he wants to actually put into Melbourne City.
Yeah, it'll be like, you know what? He won't take it. He'll be like, no, just leave it there in the club. Where like another owner, I think, would be like, nah, let's take pocket 10, 15 mil, we'll put 10 in. Like, so anyway, it's interesting, but it's a great story. And maybe we need to get him on to find more about, you know, the Bodo Glimt story, because it's it's pretty special. So that's all we've got time for. There is another segment that's coming out on the weekend, isn't that right?
Yes, our next Born Into It with Richie Alagic, someone that actually coached both me and Stef when we were junior boys, and now obviously Ethan, and you played with Ethan. So yeah, it was great to hear, and we'll leave you guys with a little bit of a teaser, and we'll see you all next week. Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Then the advent of actually being a professional footballer came in, so which meant, you know, we train in the morning, we'd spend time with our young families. So in the afternoons, I'd go home, I'd spend time with Ethan at that particular stage, because he was only 2 or 3 when the A-League started. And then by the time I'd finished, he was 5 or 6 years of age. So I then got to spend a lot of time with him, just literally, cliche, kicking around in the backyard, and just having him with a ball, and just that engagement, and just not forcing, encouraging him to, if he wants to come out and have a kick, I'm there. If he didn't, we didn't have to. I certainly never pushed anything. But when you're young, obviously impressionable, everyone looks up to their dad, so they like to take after, they like to mimic as well. So I think that's obviously what was happening with Ethan, and